In the heart of South Africa's northern Cape Province lies the town of Kimberley, famous for its colossal diamond mine known as the Big Hole. This immense crater, created during the diamond rush of the late 19th century, is both a marvel and a scar upon the landscape. It is a place steeped in history, mystery, and tales of lost fortune. For decades, whispers of a ghostly figure haunting the perimeter of the Big Hole have circulated among the townsfolk. They speak of a beautiful woman in a flowing white dress, her mournful eyes reflecting the moonlight, forever searching for something, or someone, lost to the depths of the earth. She is known as the mysterious Lady of the Big Hole. Marian Blackwood, a young investigative journalist with an affinity for the paranormal, arrived in Kimberley determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and empathy, she believed there was a story waiting to be told, one that went beyond mere superstition. Marian checked into a small inn near the Big Hole, its walls adorned with faded photographs of the town's heyday. The innkeeper, a grizzled man named Mr. Thompson, greeted her with a knowing smile. "You're here for the lady, aren't you?" he asked, his voice a gravelly whisper. Marian nodded. "Yes. I've heard the stories, but I want to know more. Who was she? Why does she haunt this place?" Mr. Thompson sighed, his expression somber. "It's a sad tale, filled with loss and longing. The lady has been searching for over a century, and her story is one of heartbreak and tragedy. If you truly wish to uncover her secrets, be prepared for what you might find." Armed with her notebook and camera, Marian began her investigation. She wandered through the town, speaking with the locals and visiting the historical archives. The more she learned, the deeper her fascination grew. The legend of the mysterious lady dated back to the late 1800s, when Kimberley was a bustling hub of diamond mining activity. Among the many fortune seekers who flocked to the town was a young woman named Eleanor Gray. Eleanor was known for her beauty and grace, and she had come to Kimberley to be with her fiancé, a miner named William Clark. Eleanor and William's love story was the stuff of fairy tales, but it was also fraught with danger. The mines were perilous, and accidents were all too common. One fateful day, a catastrophic collapse occurred in the depths of the Big Hole, trapping dozens of miners, including William. Desperate to save her beloved, Eleanor waited by the mine's entrance day and night, praying for his safe return. Weeks turned into months, and the hope that William would be found alive dwindled. Eleanor's heartache was palpable, and she became a tragic figure in the town, her once vibrant spirit diminished by grief. One stormy night, Eleanor vanished without a trace. Some say she threw herself into the Big Hole, consumed by despair. Others believe she wandered into the surrounding wilderness, never to be seen again. But soon after her disappearance, sightings of a ghostly figure began. A woman in white, her sorrowful gaze fixed on the mine, endlessly searching for her lost love. Marian was captivated by Eleanor's story. She felt a profound connection to the tragic figure, and she was determined to uncover the truth about her fate. She spent hours poring over old newspapers, letters, and diary entries, piecing together the fragments of Eleanor's life. One evening, as the sun set over the Big Hole, Marian decided to visit the site where Eleanor had been last seen. The massive crater was a haunting sight, its depths obscured by shadows. She stood at the edge, the wind tugging at her hair, and felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you here, Eleanor?" Marian whispered, her voice barely audible. "What happened to you?" Marian's voice seemed to dissolve into the wind, carried away into the abyss of the Big Hole. As she stood there, the atmosphere grew colder, and an eerie stillness settled over the landscape. She felt an inexplicable presence, as if someone, or something, was watching her. Suddenly, a soft, mournful melody filled the air. Marian turned, her heart pounding, and saw a figure emerging from the shadows. The ghostly form of a woman in a flowing white dress glided towards her, her eyes filled with sorrow and longing. "Eleanor," Marian breathed, her voice trembling. The ghostly figure stopped a few feet away, her gaze locked onto Marian's. "Who are you?" Eleanor's voice was soft and ethereal, tinged with a sadness that seemed to seep into Marian's very soul. "My name is Marian. I've come to uncover your story, to understand your pain," Marian replied, her eyes welling with tears. "What happened to you, Eleanor? Why do you haunt this place?" Eleanor's ghostly form seemed to waver, as if she was struggling to remain present. "I loved him," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I waited for him, but he never came. I searched and searched, but I could not find him. I am bound to this place, searching for him still." Marian's heart ached for the tragic spirit. "I will help you, Eleanor. I will find the truth about William and bring you peace." Eleanor's form flickered, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered before fading into the night. Determined to fulfill her promise to Eleanor, Marian delved deeper into her investigation. She combed through the archives, searching for any clues about William Clark and the collapse that had trapped him. She spoke with historians, miners, and descendants of those who had lived in Kimberley during the Diamond Rush. As she gathered information, a pattern began to emerge. There were discrepancies in the records, inconsistencies in the accounts of the collapse. Marian began to suspect that the tragedy had not been a simple accident, but something more sinister. One name kept resurfacing in her research: James Harrington, a wealthy mine owner with a ruthless reputation. Harrington had been known for his cutthroat business practices, and there were rumors that he had orchestrated the collapse to cover up illegal mining activities. Marian's investigation led her to a dusty attic in the old mining office, where she discovered a cache of hidden documents. Among them was a letter from Harrington to his foreman, instructing him to take care of the problem and ensure that no one survived to tell the tale. Marian's hands trembled as she read the damning evidence. The collapse had been a deliberate act of sabotage, and William Clark had been one of the many innocent victims. Her anger flared at the injustice, but she also felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Eleanor," Marian whispered, clutching the letter. "I will bring this to light. I will make sure the world knows the truth." Marian knew she had to share her findings with the authorities, but she also needed to be cautious. James Harrington's descendants still wielded significant influence in Kimberley, and there were those who would stop at nothing to protect their family's legacy. She decided to meet with Inspector Daniels, a seasoned detective with a reputation for integrity. She presented the evidence she had uncovered, including the letter implicating Harrington in the collapse. Inspector Daniels listened intently, his expression grave. "This is serious, Marian. If what you're saying is true, we need to conduct a full investigation. But you must be careful. There are powerful people who won't want this to come to light." Marian nodded, determined to see justice served. "I understand. But I can't let this go. Eleanor deserves peace, and the victims deserve justice." Over the next few weeks, Inspector Daniels and his team conducted a thorough investigation, gathering testimonies and corroborating the evidence Marian had provided. The truth slowly began to emerge, painting a damning picture of corruption and greed. As the investigation gained momentum, Marian continued to experience encounters with Eleanor's spirit. Each time, Eleanor seemed more at peace, as if the unraveling of the truth was easing her torment. One evening, as Marian stood by the big hole, she felt Eleanor's presence once more. The ghostly figure appeared before her, a look of gratitude in her eyes. "You have done so much, Marian," Eleanor whispered. "I can feel the weight lifting. But there is still one more thing you must do." "What is it, Eleanor?" Marian asked, her heart aching for the tragic spirit. Eleanor's gaze was filled with longing. "Find William's remains. Bring him home." Marian knew that finding William's remains would be no easy task. The big hole was a vast and treacherous expanse, and the tunnels that lay beneath it were unstable and dangerous. But she was determined to fulfill her promise to Eleanor. With the help of Inspector Daniels and his team, Marian organized a search expedition. They enlisted the expertise of experienced miners and engineers, mapping out the most likely locations where William's remains could be found. As they descended into the depths of the big hole, the atmosphere grew colder and more oppressive. The tunnels were dark and labyrinthine, and the air was thick with the scent of earth and decay. The only sounds were the crunch of their footsteps on the gravelly ground and the distant drip of water echoing through the cavernous space. Marian felt a growing sense of unease, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. They navigated through the twisting tunnels, their headlamps cutting through the darkness. The deeper they went, the more unstable the tunnels became, with debris and fallen rocks blocking their path. Marian felt a growing sense of unease, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. They navigated through the twisting tunnels, their headlamps cutting through the darkness. The deeper they went, the more unstable the tunnels became, with debris and fallen rocks blocking their path. "Be careful," one of the miners, Jacob, warned. "These tunnels haven't been touched in over a century. They're liable to collapse at any moment." Marian nodded, her heart pounding. "I know. But we have to find him. We have to bring him home." They continued their search, carefully navigating the treacherous terrain. As they ventured deeper, they began to notice signs of the past: rusted tools, abandoned carts, and skeletal remains of those who had perished in the collapse. Finally, after hours of searching, they stumbled upon a small, hidden chamber. The air inside was stale and suffocating, and the walls were lined with glistening veins of gold. In the center of the chamber lay a crumpled figure, partially buried beneath the rubble. Marian's breath caught in her throat as she approached the remains. She knelt beside the skeletal figure, her hands trembling. "William," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I found you." Inspector Daniels and his team carefully excavated the remains, ensuring that they were preserved with the utmost care. Marian watched in silence, tears streaming down her face. She felt a mixture of sorrow and relief, knowing that she had finally fulfilled her promise to Eleanor. With William's remains recovered, Marian and the team made their way back to the surface. The journey was arduous, and the atmosphere remained heavy with tension. But Marian felt a sense of closure, knowing that she had brought William home. Back in Kimberley, a solemn ceremony was held to honor the memory of William Clark and the other miners who had lost their lives. The townspeople gathered at the edge of the Big Hole, their faces etched with sorrow and reverence. Marian stood at the front of the crowd, holding a single white rose. She felt Eleanor's presence beside her, a comforting warmth that eased the ache in her heart. As the ceremony began, she placed the rose on William's casket, a final gesture of love and remembrance. "Eleanor," Marian whispered, her voice barely audible. "He is home. You can rest now." As the words left her lips, a soft breeze swept through the crowd, and a faint, ghostly figure appeared beside her. Eleanor's spirit, radiant and at peace, looked at Marian with gratitude. "Thank you," Eleanor whispered, her voice filled with a profound sense of relief. "You have given me the peace I have longed for. I can finally rest." Marian felt a tear roll down her cheek as she watched Eleanor's spirit fade into the light. The oppressive weight that had haunted the town for over a century lifted, replaced by a sense of tranquility and closure. With the truth revealed and the spirits at peace, Kimberley began to heal. The townspeople, once haunted by the tragedies of the past, found solace in the closure that Marian's investigation had brought. The Big Hole, once a symbol of loss and despair, became a place of remembrance and honor. A memorial was erected at the site, dedicated to the memory of William Clark, Eleanor Gray, and the miners who had perished in the depths of the earth. Visitors from around the world came to pay their respects and learn about the town's rich history. Marian's story, The Mysterious Lady of the Big Hole, became a bestseller, captivating readers with its poignant portrayal of love, loss, and redemption. The tale resonated deeply, touching the hearts of those who read it. Marian continued her work as an investigative journalist, uncovering stories that needed to be told and bringing justice to those who had been wronged. But the story of Eleanor and William remained her most cherished, a reminder of the enduring power of love and the importance of honoring the past. For Marian, the journey had been transformative. She had not only uncovered a dark chapter in history but had also forged a deep connection with the spirits of those who had suffered. The experience had deepened her understanding of the human condition and the importance of seeking truth and justice. As she stood at the edge of the Big Hole, gazing at the memorial, Marian felt a sense of fulfillment. The voices of the past had been silenced, and the spirits had found their rest, their stories forever etched into the annals of history. Years later, Kimberley thrived as a town that embraced its history while looking forward to the future. The legend of the mysterious Lady of the Big Hole lived on, not as a tale of sorrow, but as a testament to the enduring power of love and the quest for justice. Marian often returned to Kimberley, visiting the memorial and reflecting on her journey. She knew that the story she had uncovered would continue to inspire and captivate future generations. The town's transformation from a place of despair to one of hope and remembrance was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The voices of the past had been honored, and the legacy of Eleanor Gray and William Clark would never be forgotten. And so, the legend of the mysterious Lady of the Big Hole lived on, a story of love, loss, and the enduring power of truth. The shadows of the past had been illuminated, and the spirits had found their rest, their voices forever echoing through the annals of history. If you were captivated by the poignant and thrilling tale of the mysterious Lady of the Big Hole and crave more stories that pull at your heartstrings and keep you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you mesmerizing content that stays with you long after the story ends. Thank you for being a part of our storytelling community.